clicking along big time in anticipation of a completely massive bustulation. While the bears are squealing in disbelief at their first realizations that maybe 10K per Bitcoin is complete turkey gobble, and their favorite perma-bears may have led them astray deep into the bone zone, there is yet again even more massively positive signs showing up right now for the Moon Boys. So sit down, slurp up your favorite delicious ice-cold beverage, and watch as the juice gets set loose. Right now, the price of Bitcoin sits firmly still right around the $27,000 mark, but I want to go out on a limb here and do something that I only do every few months. Before, to me, something looks like something's about to break. I think we're on the verge of a very big move, and I'll make my case in this video as well. But the time has come, in my opinion, and I want to talk about why I believe that is and why we're about to finally see some action after nearly 3 months of slurpy, sideways, boring action. So I want to highlight first, right now on Bitcoin's weekly chart, we're sitting right above the 200-week moving average. Within a wider context, massive, still falling wedge pattern that very likely could become the most legendary pattern in the history of Bitcoin's charts. And that's, to me, one of the biggest things that I'm excited about over the next couple of months to see how this plays out. But more importantly, let's dive into this. So if we take a look at Bitcoin's chart, right, we've been highlighting about this. Everyone's been talking about this for the past couple of weeks. This head and shoulders pattern, seeing Bitcoin break down to the $23,000, $24,000 level. And while I still think, okay, in the short term, I kind of believe this is the case. I think it's very likely we could still go down to the $23,000 to $24,000 range. Look what has happened the entire time. Bitcoin has been unable to really have a big dump here, and it would take a little bit of bad news, I think, at this point for this to happen. But what's more important than this is if we zoom out, there's a much larger inverse head and shoulders pattern. And it's something we talked about today on Twitter also that makes this head and shoulders pattern look like looks like baby food. Makes it look like, this looks like a fish in a dish. Meanwhile, this looks like the whole enchilada. This looks like a whale, right? This looks like a giant dolphin, even maybe even a big like orca, great white shark. And this is like a little itsy bitsy shrimp, maybe a little bit of maybe like a really tiny tuna fish or maybe some sort of salmon, right? This looks very small compared to this absolutely very not small. For pizza's sake, this thing's, wow, actually getting close to a year long. So much bigger pattern. And it's more, you can see it a little bit better if we take a look here. So back at the bottom of the last bear market, we saw Bitcoin print a very similar pattern. I remember tracking this back then. I've been making videos now for over 5, I think maybe actually 5 years. I've been in crypto longer than that, but I've been making videos for like 5 years. So I remember some of these moments because they were very big. When we saw them and we watched them play out, they were very exciting. And this was one in particular I remember because it's something we talked about well before it started breaking out, and then it ultimately broke out, and Bitcoin went to about, I believe it was about 10,500 at the time. Okay, so this is a couple years ago, but it was in a very similar situation and a very similar part of the cycle that Bitcoin is currently in now. So where Bitcoin was in terms of how close we were to the halving and everything like that in a bear market, that's very similar, in fact, almost identical to where we are now. And now we see this also playing out. One thing about these inverse head and shoulders patterns, which is one of the reasons I think people have trouble spotting them, is that they're kind of ugly sometimes. They're not always perfect. But the main points are you have a very clear neckline, and you also have pretty much the middle going down much deeper than the left and right shoulders there. And currently, the interesting and cool thing about this is that we're pretty much near the exciting part of this pattern if it truly breaks out. That's what's so exciting about this. It's not very speculative, like we only have the left shoulder and the head or something and we're waiting to see if the right shoulder forms. We already have all of that and the initial breakout and the retest, and now the next part, if this confirms, is literally the last part, which is just the bust up, the busting. Now, as I just mentioned as well, we have only about 330-ish days until the next Bitcoin halving, which is very exciting. If there's anybody on the planet that is bearish on Bitcoin in the next 330 days, meaning like, let's say the halving is going on and you're very bearish, then history would not be kind to you because Bitcoin has always performed very well there. Also, side note, I think it's funny that people that are always bearish on Bitcoin will say things like, you can't look at history because history doesn't always repeat, which I agree, it doesn't always repeat, but there's often very good data and very good patterns and things to look at in history and to learn from. But I think it's ironic that they will say, yeah, you can't use history. Meanwhile, those very same people that are permanently bearish will only use history to try to paint their narrative as well. So it's just extremely hypocritical because that's exactly, they'll pull charts that don't make any sense of like video game companies, right? And try and relate that to Bitcoin or something. So it doesn't make any sense. And with that being said, a very big difference about this bear market, because, and before we get into this actually, there's the idea that people think that as Bitcoin gets older and older, we'll get less and less returns, which I do think is true. I don't think Bitcoin's going to 10x this next bull market. So I agree with that. However, one thing I think people are forgetting or not factoring in is that this can get exponentially more adopted, which can make it flourish so much fundamentally differently than it could in previous markets, whereas Bitcoin was seen as a scam by everyone. Now, I pretty much think most people on the planet have heard about Bitcoin at this point. Last bull market and the one before that, you couldn't say that. Not everybody on the planet had heard of Bitcoin. And again, there's absolutely some people on the planet that have never heard of Bitcoin. But what I'm saying is most people at this point have at least heard of it. And most people think it's a scam also, which is ironic also, calling Bitcoin a Ponzi scam because banks are like by definition Ponzi schemes to like the 10th degree, extreme Ponzi schemes, extreme scams. So again, that's ironic. Just depends on where your bias is with that, I guess. But what Will says here is one of the biggest differences between this bear market and the last one is that the 2019 hash rate did not reach new all-time highs until Bitcoin 3x'd off its lows, while today hash rate has over 2x'd its prior May 2021 high, while Bitcoin itself is only up 75% off its lows. Meaning the network apparently is very strong, robust, and the price, according to this commenter actually here, saying the price is delayed by the macro bearish sentiment. And I agree. But here's the thing. If that macro bearish sentiment fades, which so far it has slowly been beginning to do, if it fades, Bitcoin price is going to catch up very quick. Okay. And that's why I think a jump to 35, 40K, maybe even mid 40Ks in a very short amount of time is very possible. Because over the past 6 months, actually over the past year and a half, you've heard exactly why Bitcoin can't pump from the bearish crowd, which was, inflation, which was the rates, all of this, all of that. But now it looks very clearly to be the end of that and a transition to a different fundamental approach by the Fed and in general how monetary policy is going to be treated. And with that being said, it seems like now the only argument that the really bearish people have that they think Bitcoin can get to 10K is, well, just wait until a recession hits. Which again, my first immediate thought would be we're in a recession. Right? Because if you don't think we are, I literally don't know what to tell you. And also, I think it's important to factor in so far how Bitcoin has behaved when banks start failing. It's been doing very well. It does very well, apparently, from the very limited few months of data we have so far for the first time in history. So I think that the risk to reward of being very bearish on Bitcoin right now, as I said before, is a very costly mistake. But one thing I want to highlight as well with this is that if we look at Bitcoin's chart, we've had a very clear, concise trend for the past 6 months, where from November to January, we saw about a 60-day period where Bitcoin kind of trades sideways, followed by then a massive move up. And then we had again, almost the exact same amount of time, about 52 days here of just trading sideways before a breakdown, which was then immediately pumped back up. And now we are a little overdue. We're in fact over about 10 days longer so far in this consolidation range. So we have this consolidation range, and now this one. This one right here. And this one's already gone on longer than both of the previous ones. So that's another reason I believe that we're overdue for a move here very quickly. And what I mean by that is exactly like these previous moves. This is a very quick move right here. This, followed by the switcheroo right there, was a very quick move. It was like whiplash. Straight down, straight up. Even faster than how fast we went down, which is kind of rare. So I think we're overdue on that front for Bitcoin's chart as well, not to mention the MMI indicator showing us that every time we come in contact with this line, we see some volatility increase big time. And we've been here for about 3 weeks nearly. So I think we're overdue on that, in that metric as well, or in that sense. I think also that, did we get, yeah, we're moments away from this cross, the bullish MACD cross on the long-term charts. And yeah, just very exciting if you are bullish on Bitcoin, and more exciting, more so in the fact that in the sense that I think we're about to see finally a big move, and I think it could come within a few days here. I think this is going to be happening very soon. And take advantage of massive bonuses with Femex and BitGet below. Specifically, if you sign up with my link to Femex below, you can earn up to 10,000 free XPT. And for a limited time also, if you sign up with BitGet below, if you just sign up, which puts your email and create a password, takes 30 seconds, you can get free 5 USDT, just free. And also, whatever you deposit, you can get 10% cash back as well for a limited time when you sign up with BitGet. Without any further ado, that's it for me.